today's all about Social Security, right? And the retirement you envision. And so I think one of the things that for Social Security and most of us is that there's been changes in recent years. It's one of the more kind of talked about benefits. Will we have full benefits? Will we won't? Is it underfunded? And all of those things. But it ends up playing a pretty big role in the majority of people's retirement picture. And there's a lot of rules around it. And we're going to talk today about those rules. Give me 1 minute. This is how the attorneys get paid. Got to show that slide. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, quite candidly, most people think about Social Security, I think, as I talk to them, as I think about the last almost 21 years of doing this, through the rules side of things, right? There's a lot of rules, but there's a lot more to Social Security than just rules. And really, to me, the piece of this is the context of this. Where are those situations? Where are those stories? How does this interact with someone's life? And through that applied knowledge we'll do towards the end of this, we can understand what are those things we really should be thinking about for ourselves, for our loved ones, when it comes to how to file for Social Security. It's integral. And so that's going to be a big piece of today, is hopefully bringing to life the rules, the regulations, the elements in around Social Security. So what I think is really interesting is when we look at Social Security and we look at retirement, most people think about retirement. Maybe not most people, but a lot of people think about retirement through one filter and one filter alone, which is the financial. Why have enough money? Which is certainly a relevant question to ask, right? But when we think about Social Security and we think about retirement, we think about that question, we've got to go beyond the dollars and cents and really think about our life. We got to think about the social aspect. For many of us, our work, our vocation, right, is a big piece of our social network, how we connect with others, how we contribute, how we make an impact, and how we feel fulfillment. And some of us have the ability to ease into retirement and begin to continue to take income and receive income through our contributions, in those early 60s years, which has an impact on what we do and how we approach Social Security, right? How we've saved, where those dollars are, the quantity of them, how we invest them, the risk that we've taken, and the appropriate amount of growth to assume inside of that also has an impact on when we time to take Social Security. And then the $1 trillion question, and when we think about it from an economic perspective, but our health. Our health has a meaningful impact on our Social Security benefits. I kid with my wife, Lauren, all the time, right? I said, I hope you love me because I'm going to be here till I'm at least 120. I've had family members live into the late 90s, right? And many of them treated their bodies like dumpster fires, for lack of better descriptions. They smoke and drank heavily. They ate the foods that we've now learned are not good for you, right? And they still lived to the late 90s. And I say to her, I said, I'm going to have a long time on this earth. Well, that has a big impact on when I take Social Security, how that affects survivor benefits for my spouse, for my wife, Lauren, if I would predecease her. My health and her health have a big impact on these decisions. And so we're going to talk about all those and look at those through some real world stories and examples. So as I said, it's going to be a big part of our Social Security. So depending upon your age, for many Americans today, the pensions of our parents, our grandparents are a thing of yesterday. And so when we think about things like guaranteed income, for many people, unless we bring on specific financial instruments, Social Security will be our only guaranteed income. Or maybe just 1 out of 2 spouses will have some sort of other income that's guaranteed outside of Social Security. And so when we think about the importance of the stability and increasing income of Social Security, it plays a big role. And understanding how we're going to withdraw assets from other accounts to meet our lifestyle needs in concert with Social Security comes an integral part of our plan. In absence of understanding how these things play together, right? Social Security should complement our income plan, and our income plan should complement Social Security, as well as understanding if one is going to continue to work in retirement and the timing of that work as well, which we'll dig into. So high level, what we're going to talk about. So we are going to talk about the factors that impact Social Security. So we're going to get into some data and numbers stuff, right? We have to, right? We're going to cover how those stories that I mentioned, kind of some case studies. We're going to talk about a handful of relationships and people. They're all made up, right? They're paid actors, took their picture, right? They look happy, by the way. But that's beside the point. But we're going to talk about some key case studies to understand some decisions that people had made and how that affected their life over the kind of forward-looking perspective and how those decisions played out. And then we're going to talk about some integrating Social Security plans of some of those choices and stuff. So should be a fun 30 to 45 focused. So what impacts Social Security, right? I get this question probably all the time, right? And I think the one that surprises people the most is that it's your earning history, right? And people think maybe they've got a spouse that has a pension or they're familiar with pensions. And so they'll say it's 5 years or 10 years or things of that nature, but it's actually a 35-year working history. And I think what's interesting, though, that a lot of people don't know, right, is that benefits are escalated. They're inflated. So don't worry. If you go 35 years ago, I was earning $1.95 to stack cans at a supermarket. They inflate those earnings up to today's dollars. So not a big working piece. And you got to get 10 credits in order to earn Social Security benefits, right? Well, how do you get a credit? You work a quarter, and there's an earning requirement to get a credit. You got to earn a certain amount each quarter. Once you get 40 quarters or 10 years worth of earning, you are Social Security eligible. It's really that simple. Now, one of the things that I hear a lot is, we're blessed to serve people nationally. We've got clients that moved here to the United States from overseas. I've done this for 21 years. We have a gift of a very diverse client base. And so we hear wonderful stories, and those stories come to light, and this is an important one to understand. And it's relevant whether you've lived here in the United States or not or anything, but is that many people have some gaps in their earning history, right? Like, Kyle, what if I don't have 35 years of work history? Well, that's an excellent question. Thanks for asking it. It makes these presentations so much better. Your questions do. Is that those just go in zeros, right? So when we think about that 35-year history, you can see how taking time away from work for whatever reason, or not being a natural born U.S. citizen and coming here to the United States later in life can have an impact on your Social Security benefits. So it's a 35 working history indexed to inflation. Timing. We all know that, I think, right? We know that we have this, what's called your full Social Security age or full retirement age. And we'll talk about that in a minute, get into the details, and we'll look at a chart here. And then your marital status. What surprises people, past and present, right? So, if you've been married to somebody for 10 years, we'll get into this detail, and then later divorce, they're part of your Social Security decision. So we'll talk about how that applies and where that's relevant here as well. All right. So we talked about this 35 highest earning years, right? And the 40 credits, right? So this is for individuals that were born after 1929. So I think that's probably everyone on this, right? So an important thing to know, though, is that there's some professions that are excluded from Social Security benefits. So don't assume that you will get Social Security. So if you're somebody works for the railroad, you're excluded from Social Security. I know teachers in the state of Ohio, if we have anyone in the state of Ohio on here, which I know we at least have one person, but anyone watches this afterwards, teachers who work for the public school system in the state of Ohio are excluded from Social Security. It's loony. It's crazy, right? So don't make the presumption. This is important to know what you qualify for. It's why Social Security planning is just an integral part of this. But it's 35 years of history, right? So, and I think an important thing to understand is that not all of your income is subjected to Social Security tax and is not calculated in the benefits as well. Each year that Social Security wage base indexes with inflation. It's approximately $135,000 today is the Social Security wage base. Give me a little rope on that one. I don't memorize all the tax numbers each and every year. There's a lot of them. So what that means is that that for higher income earners, individuals making $250,000, $300,000 plus a year, is that their Social Security benefits are only calculated. If you make $390,000 a year, your Social Security benefits is only calculated on 1/3 of your income. If your lifestyle is on more than 1/3 of your income, this is where building wealth outside of Social Security becomes an integral part of your financial plan. And so what's interesting about Social Security is that it's a constant tax, it's a constant tax up to that wage base, but it's the benefits are geared more towards lower income earners, which I think is the whole idea. It's to give individuals who don't have the ability to save as much for retirement a certain level of safety net when it comes to those benefits. So those are some key information I think hopefully is helpful. Pause. I got a question. Great question. Great question. I'm gonna pause because that's a perfectly timed question for that one. What counts as earnings for Social Security calculations? That's one of the better questions I've ever had. So thank you for that. So it's all earned income. So that can be 1099 income. That could be if you run a business, right? So it's the profits, the net profits of your business counts as Social Security. What doesn't count is interest income, dividend income, or capital gains don't count towards or gifts. So if your parents are giving you money, it doesn't get Social Security taxes are not applied, nor do they affect benefits. So those are excluded from them. There may be others, but those are simple ones off the top of my head. I don't believe alimony payments don't, child support payments don't as well. So a couple others. So those key pieces. So if you're a W-2 income earner, if you're getting if you're a contract worker, so 1099 income that way, and or if you run a small business to a profit, then you pay Social Security income on that as well. There's some ways to navigate around Social Security tax as an S corporation. We won't get into that in today's conversation. That gets a little bit deeper than necessary for today's presentation. But those are the key pieces that are not taxed or not subjected to Social Security tax or what's called this. And business owners pay what's called self-employment tax. So if you're an employer, you pay your half and then half of all of your employees. If you're self-employed, you pay all of yours. So it's twice the amount of what employees pay for Social Security tax. So, all right. So you're going to hear me use FRA as an acronym. Okay. I'll try to do my best to leave this non-abbreviated, which is full retirement age. And it's right now there's a stair step. So if you're born in 1960 or after, so myself, Kara, right, Gen X or younger, right, you are in the category that has to wait till age 67 until retirement. And then we have these stair steps, of ages. And then from 1943 to 1954, it's age 66, right? So everyone's full retirement age is somewhere between 66 and 67, right? And you say, well, what is full retirement age, right? It's when you can receive 100% of your Social Security benefits. And so you can continue to work with no penalties, which is critical. So at this point, there's no income testing for Social Security benefits. We'll get into that in a minute. And you can begin to take it as early as 62, but that is a permanent reduction in income benefits to you and to your surviving spouse, should you be happen to be married. So those are those ages. Now, I get a question. So does that mean I have to wait till I'm 66 to retire? No. You can retire when you have enough income from your assets to support your lifestyle with or without Social Security, right? And so do keep in mind that this is just the government's date, not necessarily what you can do. So this illustrates, I think, one way to look at it, and we're going to look at it in a different way. So I want to show the reductions, and we're going to look at the cumulative effect of that, okay? So what we can see is this individual's full retirement age, okay? And if they took Social Security benefits, there's an approximately an 8% reduction in benefits, or an 8% increase, however you want to phrase that, for every year of change, either positively or negatively. So if this individual waits to age 70, their Social Security benefits jump up by 32% in comparison to what it would have been at their full retirement age. But at 62, they take a 25% haircut. Now, that may not matter, right? We talked about the fact that this is more than a data analysis. Has a lot to do with these decisions, your longevity and your lifestyle. What are you planning to do? And so there is certainly many a times where it makes sense to take Social Security at age 62, and other cases where it makes sense to wait till age 70. The right solution is what is individualized for that individual. So here's some illustrations, right? So let me do a little, I can't annotate because it'll stay on the slide, but at age 60, at age 62 is the dark blue here, okay? Then light blue, this person waits to age 66, right? And I don't know why, it's so funny, right? Apparently blue was the only available color for the presentation. I don't know why we don't do red and green, but there we are. So forgive me, right? So, and what we're looking at is we're looking at inflection points. So at age 72, you can see the person who waited to take it to age 70 is achieved the least amount of cumulative benefits than those who took it at age 66 and age 62. By age 82, things are pretty evened out, right? Pretty evened out. The individual who started at 62 is now slightly behind, right? And full retirement age and wait until age 70, right, are neck and neck. But these aren't really, I mean, I'm not to dismiss $30,000, but they're not enormous differences yet, right? But here's somebody age 92, right? And we can see that the person who took it at age 62 in this example, right, this hypothetical example, has accumulated $836,000 from Social Security by waiting to age 70. While the person who took it at age 62 has only received $648,000 of lifetime benefits. That's a couple $100,000. Now, I don't know about you, but if I found $200,000 in a jeans pocket, that'd be a pretty good day, right? I mean, I could be having a pretty bad day up to that point, and there's $200,000 in my pocket, and suddenly sun's shining, no matter what's happening outside. Here's the thing that has to be considered, right? And it's so important: is one, are you going to live to age 92, right? Like, that's a tough one to call, right? And then how are you going to behave, right? So much of the decisions and experiences we make in retirement has to do with our comfort with our financial picture. And some individuals simply feel more comfortable having a portion of their income coming from a guaranteed governmental source than out of their investment portfolio. And so they may make different decisions due to that they would not have made if they didn't have that income coming in. But this is the data, right? And so if you have a unique ability to predict that you're going to live to age 92, it's quite advisable for you to wait till 70, right, to take it. But when we start getting into scenarios and how this affects people, it matters. So how does working affect Social Security? This is an important one, in my humble opinion, all right? Because I can't tell many of our clients leave the workforce, right? Step into that retirement and boomerang back into something that's fun for them, right, for a period of time. And had they filed for Social Security immediately, those first couple of weeks, days, months after retirement, then they'd find themselves in a challenging position if they were younger than their full retirement age when they stopped working and started collecting benefits. Okay. So if you are younger than your full retirement age, your FRA, in 2023, if you made more than $21,240, don't bother memorizing that. There's only a few moments left in 23, okay? That number is going to index, all right? So maybe next year it's 22,193. You get the idea. But if you exceed this number, for every $1 that you exceed, you give back $1 in Social Security benefits, for every $2 that you earn in excess of that, right? So there's a scenario there that we could figure out to say, okay, you can earn enough that you don't get any of your Social Security benefits at all. Now, do understand that those end up showing up as delayed benefits. And when you reach FRA, the money will be credited back to you in a higher form of a payment. That's a really not known piece, right? So it's not like the money's gone forever. It just shows up when you're at your FRA age in a form of a higher payment. But nonetheless, the whole idea of taking Social Security is you wanted the income. And then you work more, and it's like, golly gee willikers, I feel like I'm going backwards here, right? So understanding that, Then once we reach the year that we're going to turn our FRA, then there's a higher limitation there as well. All right. So there's kind of a little wrinkle to that. So the other piece to understand is that you do get taxed on your Social Security benefits. And there's a word that I don't like to use very often, which is everyone. But the income thresholds to not be taxed on Social Security is pretty low. And individuals who have I wouldn't even call it very high income, will be taxed up to 85% of their Social Security benefits, which seems like a really random number, but it's 85 because when we add what your employer put in and what you put in, that ends up being about 15% of your income. So you're being taxed on what the government perceives as gains over what you made. That's their logic to it. If we could describe anything that the government does as logical. So anyways, I digress. So what we have to understand before we file for Social Security is, what are our work plans? Do we plan to go back to work and earn an income? And if we do, how much do we perceive or expect that income to be? And if we're before our full retirement age, we're going to really want to take a careful look at that, because we can end up impacting our Social Security benefits and put ourselves in a really interesting scenario. Okay. So we're going to talk about some people, right? Rex and Glenda and Mac. You're going to meet some wonderful people, right? But these stories I want to talk about is how their choices, what impacted them, what different choices could they have made, and how that affected the outcome of their life. So I hope that these stories are helpful to all of you. So we have Rex and Glenda. Rex, age 62, self-employed, had been earning $50,000 a year. Glenda, 61, so there's an age difference. She works in a dental office, made $35,000 a year. So Rex's parents both passed away before the age of 65, right? Now, raise your hand if when you look at your mom and dad, you think, their story might be my story when it comes to longevity. Well, I mean, I just made that example earlier for myself, right? Glenda's mother, on the other hand, passed away at age 96. So at the time Rex begins to receive benefits, he was concerned to make sure he didn't leave money on the table, right? So he's worried about, hey, if I retire, don't take this thing till I'm full retirement age, what happens? Okay. So Rex begins taking benefits as early as he can at age 62. Well, Glenda says, hey, I'm going to take this thing at 65, right? So his full retirement benefit was projected to be $1,600 a month, but he took this early. So he's going to take a 25% haircut down to $1,200 a month. That's $400 a month in monthly benefits he gave up, right? Mind you, he has a larger Social Security benefit, okay? And we'll talk about that, the implications of that in a minute. So he's also now subjecting himself to the Social Security earnings test. What that means is that based upon the income that we looked at, that $50,000, that's 2 times the amount he's permitted, right? Rough estimates, which means he's going to give about $12,000 back a year in Social Security $6,000 back in Social Security benefits a year based upon the $1 for every $2 over, right? Or about half of that half of that amount. I've done that wrong. Forgive me. 12,000 was the right answer. I'm sure you all pulled out your calculators to test me. So he's about $23,000 over. He'll give back around 12,000, a little less than 12,000 back in benefits, right? Mind you, he's only making $1,200 a month in this. So in that scenario, if he can do the work and make 50 grand a year, he's giving almost 100% of his benefits back. He's not going to get him. So that's why understanding these things are critical. So let's look at an alternative scenario if we can. All right. Is that alternate scenario is he waits till age 66. And that makes a big impact. So now Rex is going to get $1,600 a month. Glenda's going to get $1,100 a month in Social Security benefits, $2,700. Right. Scenario 2, right, is really powerful. And I'm going to talk to you about that for just a brief moment. Is that Rex waits till age 70. And now he's getting $2,112 a month. Glenda went ahead and filed at her full retirement age, getting $1,100 at age 70. Now they're getting $3,212 a month in Social Security benefits. Now, why would this couple consider that? Well, depending upon their financial situation, the assets they have outside of Social Security, what Rex has essentially done is juiced the survivor benefits for Glenda. I think that's the technical term, is juicing it. But he's made a big impact, right? We've gone from $1,200 to $2,100. And is a reminder for those who don't know, right? Your first time hearing it here, for those who don't know, is that the spouse gets to keep the higher of the two benefits. And so seeing as Glenda has longevity in her picture, it may behoove this couple to consider delaying the larger of the two benefits to maximize those if they don't have meaningful amount of assets, because they're going to lose one of those benefits. And so making sure the reduction is as little as possible if they're not well positioned economically outside of Social Security could be an advisable thing to consider. So those are huge. Let's talk about Maggie and Tony, if we may. Okay. So they're both 62, right? And we're going to look at how you can use your benefits to kind of maximize your family's outcome. So Maggie had her own earnings history. So at age 62, instead of trying to file for Social Security benefits under her husband, Tony, she files on her own benefit and begins to take a reduced payment of $750 a month. At age 66, Tony begins to take benefits, right? And Maggie turns around and files for spousal benefits. Now, she'll receive a small reduction due to the fact that she took her Social Security early, because the spousal benefits is calculated based upon your earnings history and your spouse's earning history. So she'll be penalized, but that penalization is less than what it would have been had she filed for spousal benefits early. So she's able to have a benefit that jumps from $750 now to $950, and Tony had waited. Now, why would a couple do this? Well, maybe Tony's going to keep working, right? Maggie doesn't want to, but they need a little bit of extra income to bring in to make this all work and cover their expenses. So that $750 may be the difference between, maybe Tony going down to part-time or Maggie retiring or what have you, right? So stories are always interesting, right? Now, let's say that this couple decides that Tony's not going to take benefits. So Maggie can start taking spousal benefits at Tony's full retirement age, but maybe they don't need the income yet still. And so Tony continues to wait, bringing his benefit up to $3,168 at age 70. It doesn't go any higher after that. 70 is it. 70 is the final escalator, right? And the real benefit here to this couple is now they've maximized his benefit and the survivor benefit. And when we see these really big spreads, that's something that should be considered in someone's picture. How about a divorced spouse can work for you? This is I find this part to be interesting. So Trey and Trish, right? Middle-aged, they divorced after 10 years of marriage. That 10 years is a big piece. We got to hit 10 for this to work. And Trey now 66, nor Trish. Neither one of them remarried. Okay, no one remarried here. Also a key fact, right? So how does this affect their benefits, right? So if Trey files for Social Security benefits under his ex-wife's earning record, he could receive half of the benefits she would receive, right? So if you have been married and that marriage lasted at least 10 years and you're no longer receiving benefits, and you've not remarried, you can actually file under your ex-spouse's Social Security, which is something that a lot of people do. And it doesn't have any impact on your ex-spouse's Social Security benefits. So you can file for spousal benefits under your ex-spouses. This gets a little tongue twisty. I feel like I'm doing Sally's Seashells here. Forgive me. Goodness sakes. Could we get more alliterative here at all? Thank you. So I'm not sure I'm going to untie my tongue at the end of this. Anyways, so here's a key piece to understand, right? We've got the individual looking to file for benefits and their ex-spouse, okay? As long as you don't remarry, you can file under your ex-spouse's benefits, not impact their benefits and not be beholden to what they choose to do. So you can file at 62, even if your spouse has not filed for Social Security at all. So that's a meaningfully important thing to understand, right? The minute you get remarried, right, now you're tied to your new spouse for spousal benefits. So Kim Kardashian's going to have to pick whoever she marries last. I think there's probably a lot more still to go, but whoever Kim Kardashian marries last is going to be, except the reality is it's whoever marries Kim Kardashian last, let's be honest, on an earnings perspective, right? You want to be the, so actually, if any of her, what's funny is if any of her spouses had made it for 10 years, which I don't think she's hit that number yet, they all could file under her spouse, so her benefits, which is nutty. So if she married 10 men and none of them remarried after her, all 10 can claim underneath her spousal benefits. Let me know when this hurts your head a little. So let's talk about survivor and individual benefits. And let's talk about Karen for a minute. So after 30 years of marriage, Karen's husband, Doug, passes away at age 64. Karen is 60. She's interested in retiring early, but also enjoys working, okay? So we have to take consideration here that Karen has her own work history as well as her no longer living husband, right? So, and he hadn't started to receive benefits, right? And so that has some impact on this. So Karen can take widow benefits, right, at age 60, right? So this is a time we could take benefits early. I told you 62. For a widow, it's age 60, so it's earlier, right? So Doug's widow benefits to Karen was $1,560 a month, right? But she had her own working history. So Karen can, at her own time, trade her widow benefits over for individual benefits up to age 70, right? This is really important. I see this missed a ton, right? Where often a woman would have had a long working history and her husband passes away early. She decides to take widow benefits at age 60 and then forgets about all those working years. Well, that's continuing to delay. And at age 70, that widow benefit, her individual benefit may be greater than the widow benefit that she can be receiving. I got a question. Mike, you can marry Kim Kardashian. I think I'll take a strong pass. Thanks. I love the jokes. Keep them coming. Makes this more fun to know somebody's out there listening. So those are important things to take into consideration. So if she remarries, it may affect her Social Security benefits. So that's something to take into consideration in this whole picture as well. All right. So how does survivor benefits work with divorced spouses? Right. So let's look at Mary. She was married to Dennis for 10 years, never remarried. Dennis was married 2 additional times, that old dog. And when Dennis dies at age 74, his Social Security benefits is $1,680 a month. Now Mary's 75 and she's receiving $1,530 in monthly benefits on her own earnings, right? Well, Mary hears that her ex-spouse has passed, and so she goes and does some investigating. And what she finds out is that she can actually file for divorced widow benefits. And those divorced widow benefits, because of her Dennis's working history and his income, is actually slightly more than what she was making. And so she can actually file under divorced ex-spouse's widow benefits. I think I got a double in there. I think I got her divorced twice there. But so you can see in this scenario, right, that this individual could actually have a bump in income. So here's some key takeaways. If you have been married and are no longer married and have an ex-spouse, you need to make sure you've investigated whether that ex-spouse's Social Security benefits may be more beneficial for you. Okay, whether they're living or no longer living. So understanding benefits can help you make more informed decisions. All right, and these choices have pretty long-lasting implications. So to me, I think one of the smartest things a person can do is to get out to SSA, Social Security Administration.gov, and understand their unique benefits better, okay? if your marital status is different, right? If you're in one of these unique scenarios, right, that we've talked about, it's integral. Marriage has a big impact on your Social Security benefits. And this is one of those things that we have, in 2023, almost 24, we have people who are choosing not to get married at all and cohabitating. And that does have an impact on this and many other pieces of their financial picture. So when I use the word marriage, I mean truly an authentic government recognized marriage, right? So not a civil union, right? Because the state says you've lived together long enough and we're going to treat the division of your assets in the divorce as if you were married. No, this actually has to be a full marriage from this perspective. So our goal at a high level here today was to help each and every one of you understand that Social Security is not as simple as checking a box and I'm 62 and move on, right? And that we need to take into consideration a lot of different pieces. One is that social aspect, right? If you plan to work in retirement past the age of 62, right, or between the ages of 62 and your full retirement age, you need to take a moment and calculate and understand how much can you earn and not put yourself in a position that those earned dollars are a reduction in income that comes into your family, right? The financial side. How is this going to tie into your overall picture? Individuals we found sometimes we take for Social Security early because they have a lot of IRA money, and that IRA money is going to require them to take large RMDs. And so maximizing taxable income after the age of 70 could be income detrimental to them because of how high of a tax bracket they're going to be in the future. Our financial planning software, allows me to model these sorts of decisions on the individual's behalf. I find it really fun. Others say I'm a little geeky for it. That's up to you to decide. But understanding how Social Security ties in with our overall financial picture is integral to making wise choices. It's not a siloed decision. These things play in together. And then our health, all right? There's been scenarios in the 21 years of me serving families where I've recommended people take it early. Individuals who've had meaningful challenges leading up to the age of 62. Well, unfortunately, it's a high probability that neither one of them will live to age 86, right? Which is where we started to see that tip over between filing it at 62 or waiting to age 70. So our health plays a big factor. When we look at Medicare, so Medicare is the country's federal health insurance program for age 65. And younger people with specified disabilities may also qualify. So the program helps with the cost of healthcare, but it doesn't cover all medical expenses or the cost of most long-term care, including nursing home. So huge piece with this. So Medicare is a separate thing. It's age 65, right? Unless you have other specified qualifying events. So, and when you turn 65, and this all kind of coincides with the Social Security decision, you got some choices to make around Medicare. And your Medicare premium that you pay is driven in retirement by your income of the preceding 2 years leading into and during retirement. That's one of the things we help our clients understand is what is their projected cost of the Medicare premiums and how does that fit within their overall retirement plan. So there are a few pieces of Medicare. I'm going to give you a high level. This is bonus material. We are now in the bonus area of today's presentation. You thought you're just getting Social Security. Now you get a bonus of Medicare. Apologize. That's all the bonus we're getting for today. So I want to give a high level of understanding because if you're thinking about Medicare, if you think about Social Security, then you probably also should be thinking about Medicare as well. So Part A and B help pay for visits to doctors and hospital care. These things work into conjunction. Okay. Part A is kind of everyone gets it. Part B is what we pay for. That's our premium. And that Part B is designed to cover the deductibles under Part A. Okay. And then there's Part D. And Part D is the prescription drug benefits. And there's one of the things I'll share with you. We're actually going to have an expert come in next year and speak on this in one of these events. Is that the choices you make on your Part D plan can have a big impact on the cost you're paying for your prescription drug benefits. We've seen many people overpay for that and as a result aren't getting a lot of benefits. And so we're going to have an expert come in and speak about Medicare Part D. That's something if you just pressed a box and it's not working well for you, you may need to revisit it. So when we look at these pieces, understanding what your unique health scenario is and how these things work is integral to having a positive outcome. When we talk about long-term care, unless you've had a triggering event, which means spending time inside of a hospital, 3 days, not including your day of discharge, and are receiving rehabilitative care, Medicare does not pay for long-term care services. And long-term care services are what's called custodial services. They're the activities of daily living: eating, bathing, dressing, toileting, maintaining continence, and transferring. If you're needing help with 2 out of 6 of those, you're deemed to need long-term custodial care. And if it's deemed by your doctors, your care providers, you aren't getting better. I'll give the story of my father, who a couple of years ago had a medical event that rendered him into a hospital for like almost 90 days. When he left, right? I mean, that's a long time. When he left at about day 70 in a care facility, he wasn't doing enough rehab that whomever was overseeing his qualifications said, this man's not getting better, right? And so even though he'd met the 3-day requirement, even though he was receiving some rehabilitative care, he didn't meet the standard quite enough, and Medicare walked away before their day 100, which meant that those additional days and every day since then has been the financial responsibility of my parents. So while you may have qualifying events, it's that rehabilitative care that really is the key piece, and understanding how you're going to navigate that is an important part of someone's overall financial plan as well. So first, next steps I'd encourage you all to do is create your own My Social Security account at ssa.gov. Don't forget the .gov. You do .com, you're going to have problems. So make sure that's a .gov at the end of it. Schedule Social Security and Medicare strategy session with a financial professional. If you don't know one, hi, nice to meet you, right? So, and then consider the bigger picture. What does retirement look for you? I think that's one of the most important things that I've shared with you today, right? Yes, you could take Social Security at age 62, and that's lovely if you don't think you're going to have a long life, right? But how are you going to integrate your life, your money, and Social Security? That is the most important decision to ask, because that decision of how you're going to experience retirement in those early years will have an impact on whether you've made a good decision and what is left over of your resources, and whether you maximize this benefit based upon your specific scenario. This essentially say that what I've said today was my opinion and my opinion only, and it's only worth what you paid for it. I've got another question in the hot inbox. All right. Let me scroll here and make sure I get to the final question of the day. Thanks for those who are still with me. Yes. Mike, you make this presentation better. It was a joke. Mike, you are now required to come to all future presentations and make it more entertaining for me and those who attended. The joke I'll share with all you is the 1990s popular song. It's done by Naughty by Nature, that hip hop song. It's down with GOV. Yeah, you know me. So there you go. Mike, that's fantastic. I will be laughing about that one from a long time. That is all for today. Thank you so much. If you found this of value today, take a minute and share the link to somebody that it's on the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, don't keep this kind of information a secret from others. I wish everyone that's listening to this a very happy and safe holidays, and truly appreciate the opportunity to continue to be an educational resource to all of you. And we look forward to seeing more of you in January as we continue on with our educational series on a monthly basis. Thank you, be well, and we'll talk soon.